Good morning. I don't know what time it is where you are, but for me it's about 8:20 a.m. Have my morning coffee, and today, I'm going to be attempting to do the 2025 heavy metal tag. This is like the fourth attempt I've made at filming this thing. Anyways, I've done one of these before in the past for 2021. Ooh, that's a long. It's been a while. Anyways, so this tag used to be put together by the channel The Rock Scout. And he's kind of fallen off of doing it, but luckily Marty and Alan from Heavy Metallurgy have kind of like picked up the gauntlet and started putting out the tag every year. So on New Year's Eve they did their live stream to go over the questions, and I'm super behind. I've not been feeling well, so I haven't really been wanting to film, and I even had a hard time doing figuring out what I wanted to show. So I took notes. Here are the questions and my little answers. Hopefully this goes well. Wish me luck. Anyways, question 1. Hype. Name a release you're eagerly anticipating in 2025. So I don't really pay attention to like what is it like expected to come out in a given year usually. So the only thing that really comes to mind is the new Lacuna Coil album, Sleepless Empire. And hopefully we get new music from this German symphonic folk metal band Lyrial. Their last album came out in 2014, so it's been a hot minute, and they've kind of been active again, so hopefully they release some new stuff. So those are my answers: the new Lacuna Coil and hopefully new Lyrial. I don't even know if that's really happening or not. Question 2, show the 25th item in your collection show the 25th item in your collection, any format. So I actually picked 2 items for this. So alphabetically is how I do my collection now. That's the organization that I mostly have, and then I run out of shelf space, and then I just have whatever's left kind of just shunted away in a different spot. But alphabetically, my 25th item is Invisible Circles by After Forever. This is released in 2004. I might do a different video in the future to recap the year 2024 or 2004, because we had the 20th anniversary recently, and it was a great year for gothic and symphonic metal. Anyways, progressive gothic symphonic metal featuring Flor Jansen as vocalist. This is a concept album. And the other option I've had, so I used to organize my collection by chronologically how I bought them, and I still have a doc in that order, and this is the 25th item on that doc, which is Memento Mori by Flyleaf. Not really a metal band. They were an American, they're back again, I think. They are an American alt-rock, Christian-y, I don't know. I really like them. This album I think is amazing. Even though, you know, they hit the Jesus pretty hard in this album, but like in a way that I guess I fuck with. Anyways, question 3. Overdue. Name an older band you checked out for the first time in 2024 and loved. My answer to this, if you saw my 2024 wrap up, I feel like would not be coming out of left field, was Swallow the Sun. I took liberty with the term older, because this band debuted in 2003, which is more than 20 years ago, and they formed at the beginning of this century. So I'm counting that as old enough. They're almost as old as I am. So Swallow the Sun. Great melodic, gothic-y, death doom stuff. Really enjoyed this band's, I really enjoyed looking into this band's work. Though I believe it wasn't even the first time I would ever check them out. I think I tried to listen to their debut back when I was like 14, maybe 13. Needless to say, at the time, I was not ready to receive their music, I guess. I just wasn't into it at the time. But, you know, I've matured, so making progress, I guess, right? Question 4, Feeding the Monkey. How do you purchase most of your music? Local store, Bandcamp, specific online site, etc. It really depends. My go-to is immediately Discogs or eBay, usually eBay first. For new releases, if I know I can get a really quick like delivery, I will order on Amazon, and I know Amazon is evil. I don't like supporting Amazon either, but I can get really, like, for new releases, it works out for me, even though it's a little pricey on Amazon, I feel like. But who knows? Maybe that's just the price of CDs these days. But eBay and Discogs for sure are my main go-tos. If I can visit some more stores, I would. I think last year I went to the Amoeba in San Francisco twice, which is not a lot, but I did get a lot of music from there. And I think I went to the Rasputin in Berkeley once last year. So like in-person stores are not really killing it for me, but you never know. You never know what you can find. Bandcamp is what I use for really indie bands that don't really have like a label, or if they do have a label, it's a really like a boutique label. So I am willing to totally, pay over like too much for shipping from Bandcamp if that's the only way I can get it, because I can't do the digital only really. Basically, if an album comes out only on digital, I probably just won't bother listening to that band or album. And I know that's that's my issue, so just saying. Question 5. Enigma. Show a heavy metal album that is musically really hard to place in a heavy metal subgenre. I have a perfect one for this. I've actually talked about this band on this channel before, years ago. And that would be the Swedish band Amaran. I don't remember if they're from Stockholm or Gothenburg. I think Stockholm. You know what? Don't listen to me. Don't quote me on any of this. But they released 2 albums in the early 2000s. A World Depraved in 2002 and Pristine Bondage in 2004. I have seen this band labeled so many different things, from power metal, thrash metal, melodic metal, which isn't a genre, even gothic metal. I don't know. They're just... I think the most aptly description, the most appropriate description I've ever seen for this band is melodic death metal with clean female vocals, which is already not a genre, but that is what this band sounds like. So I guess I just kind of lump them in the ill-defined version of progressive metal, but they're kind of impossible to place. But I love this band. Please check them out. They're so good. Question 6. Eating Crow. Talk about an album you used to hate, but after years it finally clicked, and now you can't get enough of it. This is going to be probably a surprise if you're a symphonic metal fan. But I, for the longest time, could not stand Consigned to Oblivion by Epica. I thought it was the most overrated piece of music ever. I just didn't get it. I just didn't think it was memorable. I found the orchestrations really obnoxious. I don't know. I don't even know what was wrong with me. And then finally, I think what happened is, because I am a little bit of a completionist with bands that I like, this is at the time the only one I think I didn't have. So I just bought it off of eBay for very cheap. This is Original Transmissions Records pressing, I believe. Let's just take a look at the artwork. I love that Transmission Records aesthetic. This one's actually very modest in comparison with most of them. Anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself. So I purchased it for $6 on eBay and listened to it. I listened to it, and I kept coming back to it, and I don't really know why, because I didn't love it. And then just over the course of that summer, I was just obsessed. I think it is within probably the top 3 Epica albums, really high up there. That being said, that being said, I still think the debut is their best. I'm sorry, it's just genre-wise and what they do with it, it is just what speaks to my soul. It's what I like. Anyway, so yeah, top 3 Epica albums, Consigned to Oblivion. Except I will say though, that title track, that I still think that's really overrated. Don't come at me. Question 7. Impulse. Show an album you blind bought in 2024. I guess a lot of them, actually. But the main ones I want to talk about are Simone Simon's Vermilion. And this one was just fine. I had a point that I wanted to bring up about this in this discussion, but I don't really remember it. I think, for the most part, when it comes to new projects from artists that I like, I kind of don't really look into them at all until it comes out, and I just kind of just go for it and see what I think. This one was okay. Very proggy. Symphonic metal felt more like an Adi and Lucasen project, which I've mentioned before in my wrap-up. And I don't love Adi and Lucasen projects, so this one wasn't necessarily for me. But it's not bad. It's pretty decent, but not for me. And then the second one is Yesterwind by Nightwish. I distinctly remember going out of my way to not listen to the new Nightwish singles when they dropped. Just because, again, I am a completionist, so regardless of whether or not I was going to like it, I probably would buy the new Nightwish. Luckily, I really enjoyed this one. Again, probably their best in 20 years. Maybe better than Once. Just because Once like rots more and more every year that passes, like it just ages super poorly. Question 8. Collector Scum. Show a title that you own more than one pressing of on the same format. Okay, I have two for this. First is the self-titled album by After Forever. I just hauled a copy of this. I have 3 versions here. I have the original one that I had when I was first collecting music. There's a whole backstory to this. I've had to purchase this album a few different times just to have a copy of it. Anyways, this is the original version that I had, Christmas of 2009. Ooh, ain't that fun? Because this is a slipcase. Just, right, standard, more or less standard edition. Later on eBay, I think it was Mad Rush Media is the eBay store, I found the Digibook version. This is also 2007 pressing, right? It's just the kind that has the discs over here and then booklet inside, which is not my favorite. I think I purchased this one and then I rebought the original one that I had afterwards from the same seller, I think. So yeah, I got these around the same time. And then recently, of course, I got the 2022 remastered 15th anniversary. So that's 3 copies of the same album. And I used to have the Witch of the West pressing, the Mexican pressing, on Digipack. That was the copy that got stolen when the house I was living in 2016 got broken into, and they like stole almost my entire collection. So I used to have that one too. So that would have been 4. I probably would have still held on to that and still gotten these. Anyway, oh my god, can you hear my nose? I hate this. Anyways, let's try. I'm gonna try to power through it. Anyways, the second example they had for that question is the Sin Decir Adios by Anavanta. So I have this band. Hey, you stop that! I'm sorry, the cat was starting to claw on the chairs. We don't do that. I don't put up with that in this house. Anyways, so this is the original album release as a double album. So it's disc 1. I got this in 2023. Isn't this fun? I always wanted to have a copy of this. Pretty, I'm gonna say a low budget pressing. I'm gonna say, right? But the killer album. This has both discs in English and in Spanish. And then I have, context. This was released 2025, probably, based on the recording timeline and the band's own history. I'm going to say late 2005, right? And then I also have the promo that was released for, it was, let's see, if I remember correctly, this probably came out first. It was a promo for the full album release. This is an abridged 9-track version of the Spanish language version of the album, right? This was, for the longest time, the standard edition that the Metal Archives had, like, on, archived for whatever reason. Yeah, so I have that too. And then I have the 2010 re-recorded versions, English and Spanish, Sin Decir Adios, Without Saying Goodbye. I put that in scare quotes because I fully believe that the band is re-recorded and the male vocals are re-recorded for almost, I'm going to say probably every song, but I don't believe that the lead vocals are re-recorded for every song, just based on, again, this band's history and like what that singer sounded like at the time. It kind of sounds like they took for the most of the songs, most, not all of them, but most of them, they took the original recordings and then kind of took away the reverb or added more reverb. It's been a hot minute since I've listened to these to compare. But yeah, so I have these. Again, not every song. Some of those, some of the re-recordings definitely sound re-recorded. And anyways, and then I also have the 2015 remaster of the 2010 version. So this was released allegedly by Denver Records in Mexico. I questioned the official status of this album and a lot of those later 2010s Anabantha represses. But yeah, so technically 5 versions, and I'm putting them all together because, again, I don't believe that most of the songs got re-recorded vocally. So I'm like, does it count necessarily as a different album? Experts remain divided. Anyways, moving on. Question 9 is, show off a grail, something you really wanted that you acquired in 2024. And of course, you know, grails also mean that they're kind of hard to come by. So I have 2. One is Anabantha's Letanías Capítulo 1, their original 2001 version of this. I'm sorry, the teeth of the jewel case broke. Yeah, so this is their original recording, the original pressing of this album with the simpler cover. And this one, in contrast to the Without Saying Goodbye album, when they re-released this, that was very obviously re-recorded. This sounds really rough, dirty, really twinkly, but still, like, it definitely sounds like a different time. But yeah, so this has, I'd never even dreamed of getting this album, so the fact that I have it technically is not really the question. Like, it's not a grail. I didn't even think it was in the possibility for me to get this album, but this is cool. I really liked this. The second thing I got was Wicked Wisdom, their first album, My Story, and I know this isn't really a heavy metal band. Their second album was a nu metal album, like heavy, like just crushing nu metal, but this is more like a rock, jazz, proggy, blues, heavy metal-ish sometimes fusion album, and I really dig this. This is really fun. For those of you who don't know, Wicked Wisdom is a US-based band that is fronted by Jada Pinkett Smith, Will Smith's wife, and they, in the 2000s, for this album, they opened for Britney Spears for a few shows, and then later when they released their sophomore album, they're more heavy metal, or like, you know, nu metal. Though structurally speaking, I'd say that they are definitely pulling from heavy metal. They did the Ozfest for 2006, I believe, or 2005. Anyways, I dig this, and I have been looking for a CD pressing of this for a long time, so finally a few of them popped up on Discogs, and I swooped in and got one. Question 10 is a plea to the VCLT gods. What is a grail item you are on the hunt for? And I have 2 things again, I think. So one, I have this album by this Polish progressive rock metal band, Nama. This is their sophomore album from 2003. This was released on Metal Mind Records, or Metal Mind Productions, whatever. But their debut was independently released, and that is more gothic metal, less progressive, and I've been on the hunt for that, but it's impossible to find. So there is, someone put up a YouTube video of the album, but there's a bunch of like little errors in that version of the album, and I can't really listen to it. So that one for sure. And I have this debut album by a Bono Serbian gothic metal band. Love this album. I believe this was technically released independently on their own record label, but they also put out a single in 2007 called Urlik, and I've been wanting that for a hot minute. I think the last time a copy went up for sale on Discogs was 2015, and I missed it. So I know that they exist out there, but I'm looking for that single just to complete my Abonos collection, because I also don't have any plans on getting their demo. But yeah, the single Urlik. Question 11 is a boomerang album. Show an album that no matter how many times you purge it from your collection, another copy returns to you. Not really applicable because I almost never purge anything, and if I purge something, it's not in the cards for me to ever get it. But I am gonna show, and people are gonna roll their eyes at this, but Fallen by Evanescence. It's not that I've ever purged it. It's just that when I was this is technically my first CD that I've ever owned. I bought it when I was 10 years old, December 26th, 2007. I bought it from Target, and at the same day, like literally same purchase, I also got Within Temptation's The Heart of Everything, which is the only time I ever saw any Within Temptation at a Target, but they had it for sale. And so I got those two same day. So this was 2007. I listened to my original copy into the ground, and I actually still have the original disc. I found a CD wallet in my mom's house that was just my CD collection at age 13. And it had like 8 CDs in there, and that's, it's nothing now compared to what I have now, but I listened to that thing into the ground. In 2013, when I got my first debit card, I repurchased a version of it on eBay for very cheap, and then I had that for a few years before, again, the collection got stolen. I repurchased it after that, and then is that the story of my 3 copies that I've had? I want to say I had another one at some point, but I can't tell you when. I know I got the 2023 remaster, but no. Anyways, I think I've owned 3 copies of this. Much, similar to the After Forever self-titled. I had to keep getting new copies of that. But yeah, so technically not really applicable, but this is what I came up with. Question 12. Reunion. Name an artist that you had lost track of over time but reconnected with in 2024. The band that I came up with was Leaves Eyes. I already had this on CD in a digipack from Mexico, so I went ahead and got their sophomore on jewel case, just because I have a thing about early 2000s and 90s albums being in digipack. I prefer jewel cases for those. Anyways, so Leaves Eyes is a band that I got into right when I was getting into gothic and symphonic metal. I fell off with them when they got rid of Liv Christine. Again, I'm more of I like Liv Christine more as a singer than their current vocalist, but I did kind of reconnect. I was going through a little bit of a Leaves Eyes early days kind of nostalgia kick with this band, and then I listened to the new one. So yeah, Leaves Eyes. Okay, we have reached the last stack of CDs to show off for this video. I'm trying to keep this a little shorter because it's a pain in the ass to upload if it gets too long. Anyways, question 13 is, Upstart, name a new band whose debut album really impressed you. Doesn't have to come out in 24, but recently. So I don't actually listen to many new bands, or at least debut albums by bands. I usually let them ride the wave of success before I decide to listen to them. But I have 2 things I want to talk about. One is, technically speaking, this kind of counts. Blackbriar, this Belgian band, I believe. They play kind of a really simple, almost mid 2000s style of gothic and symphonic metal. But they blew me away with their debut EP, which is this, Fractured Fairy Tales. And I kind of followed them through their first couple EPs, and then by the time that they released their debut album, I kind of fell off this band. I've been meaning to go back and listen, but from what I remember, well, they've been putting out even newer stuff still, but from what I remember about the actual debut album is I just wasn't feeling it. Even the EPs, I really loved this first one. The second one I also really liked, and then the third one was just kind of a dud. So I feel like where this band went is not really where I want to follow them, but I love this debut EP. The next thing is technically not that new, and I got into this band through their sophomore, but this is Riverwood, an Egyptian progressive symphonic folky metal band. I talked about them 2 years ago when I was trying to keep up with new music in 2022. But really, I'm more of a fan of the sophomore, but the debut is also pretty damn good. And this is not that recent. This is 2018, but the sophomore and the debut kind of had a bit of a gap in between. So I'm counting this as applicable to the question. Anyways, Question 14 is, influencer, show a band / release that you bought in 2024 as a direct result of watching someone's channel. And that would be Opeth's The Last Will and Testament. I believe I bought this because I think it was the Metal Meltdown and Quest for Metal both put it on their top albums of the year list. So I just went ahead and bought it without listening to anything first. So there you go. Influencing works, I guess. Question 15. Don't judge an album by its cover. Show a great album with bad cover art. I have a lot of these. I have 3 M bands. Let's talk about those. One, Neo-Gothic Propaganda by Macbeth, Italian Gothic metal band. This is actually not the original cover that was intended for this album. This album got delayed even further than it was because they had to completely change the album cover. It was originally a black and white photo of the Vatican, I think, but I think in Italian law, any like image or likeness of the Vatican has to be used with permission. So they were denied, and so they had to scramble to get a new cover. And so they went with this like fake blue rose and black snake aesthetic, which matches kind of the look they're going for at the time. And their the album that came out before this had a similar look, but with instead of blue, it was more red and pink. But yeah, not great, but not horrible either. I'm kind of desensitized to really bad covers. Usually if an album has a bad cover, I'm repellent. I'm repelled by it. I usually don't go towards it. But if there is another version that comes out with a different cover, I will go for the prettier cover every time. So I try not to have very bad covers in my collection. Next up is Merenre by Moonlight. I appreciate the artistic direction that they went with for the cover. This bold colors, the really weird art, but I find this to be a little too goofy. This band actually suffered. I don't think, looking back at it, I don't think any of their covers were amazing, except for maybe 1 or 2. Out of 11 albums, it's not a great streak, you know? And the last one up for this one I chose to do was In Spheres That Time by Myriads, this Norwegian Gothic symphonic doom metal band. Amazing album, incredible, kind of short, so if you want to get into Gothic symphonic metal, I think this is pretty good. It's only 5 tracks long, 36 minutes or so. Just really lush and indulgent, but also dark and just, it's so good. But the cover is just a photo of bats from a distance. Because back when I got this for the first time, it was all these low resolution images. I could not tell what the fuck was going on here. But no, it's bats. They're cute, but I don't know what's going on here. What does that have to do with Spheres Without Time? Anyways, really great album though. Can't recommend it enough. Their follow-up is even better, but very long. So if you're willing to put yourself through it, the sophomore album is great. Next is question 16. Rembrandt, show an album whose cover art was created by one of your favorite artists. So in the subgenre that I listen to most, we don't really have that kind of distinctive artist style, or the artist that you see over and over and over again. You can see it for some bands and artists, but it's not indicative of the genre. So I kind of bended my answer or the question a little bit to go with Sirenia, Perils of the Deep Blue. I love this album so much, and the cover was actually a piece of work done by Anne Stokes, who I believe did a lot of those, as if you watched, so I got into Gothic symphonic metal in the internet age, so this was YouTube. People would do slideshow videos, and it would be all this romantic, dark, Gothic vampiric artwork of pale women and all that. I believe a lot of those are done by Anne Stokes, so it's nostalgic for me, I guess, is really what I'm going for. Not really the same thing. There's definitely artists in my collection that have done a lot of albums, but I'm not super drawn to those, or it just isn't a distinctive style for me to go yeah, that's that person, and I love that person's art. Anyways, moving on. Question 17. Name an album that you would like to see reissued, your preferred medium. I also have 2 for this one. And I know more people are going to roll their eyes, but hear me out. Origin by Evanescence. I have this in a bootleg, a really good bootleg, by the way. This is a demo that came out in 2000. Well, they call it a demo. I think it was released as an album, and they're trying to get signed to a bigger album, record label. But this is famously out of print. I believe it was limited to 1,000 copies. It was available for purchase through the label they were signed to at the time, Bigwig Enterprises. It was available for sale until Fallen came out, when it got pulled. Amy Lee has said multiple times that she is not the most proud of this thing, and she refuses to put it out on streaming or repress it in any way that is most accessible to people. So the band has famously been like, just download it. Anyways, this is like a mix of industrial and like almost dark wavy with like gothic metal, alt rock. It's just so cool. If you think that their studio albums are a little overly produced, check this one out. This is very different in tone. Yeah, check it out. It's great. And then the second thing I came up with was Imperia, the Ancient Dance of Qetesh, as they say. Or Kadesh, whatever. So I didn't answer this with an album that I actually wanted to buy, because mostly all the stuff I have some pretty good luck. So I'm not usually trying to get a repress of something in lieu of the original. I can usually find a way. If I wait long enough, I will get an original. But this album was released in 2004 on Ebony Tears, a record label that went under pretty soon after the release of this album specifically. Actually, I think the Nemesis album came out the next month. That was the last album on this on the label. And it's been 20 years, and it's never been repressed or re-released ever, other than South American pressing on Hellion Records, and like a questionably official Russian pressing, I believe. But it's never been re-released. It's never been put up on streaming, and that is because Imperia has just not been able to get the rights, apparently, to this album, and it would have been amazing for that to happen for the 20th anniversary, but alas, hasn't happened yet. So yeah, those are my two albums that I would like to get repressed, specifically on CD, and at least throw them up on streaming, because streaming is really convenient. Okay, next question. I have to look at my notes really quick. Question 18. Name an album from a genre that you typically do not listen to. I have Chimera by Delirium. This is a side project of Frontline Assembly, I think, industrial group. This is a atmospheric electronic pop kind of project. This is the only album I have by them, and might be the only one I really am interested in getting. But it's so cool, really spacey and bright, but also kind of dark and very atmospheric. And they don't have a vocalist. They just feature a lot of Canadian singers, mostly Canadian, I think. So every single song will say like featuring so and so. So there's Sultana, Ronnie, Lee Nash, Margaret Farr, Zoe Johnston, all these other kind of more singer-songwriter type singers. But this is I don't know, I just love this album, and I don't really listen to this kind of stuff as much as Spotify tries to suggest me stuff similar to it. I don't find myself going for it, mostly because I need something with a little bit more drive and a little bit darker in tone, and a lot of those other groups don't tend to do that, but this album is great. And then question 19 is, what band do you hope to see live in 2025? I am going to see Swallow the Sun, and I am going to see Lacuna Coil open for Machine Head, I think. Yeah, Machine Head. Other than that, I haven't really given it much thought. Maybe if Xandria and Delane come by again, I'll get tickets to that. But I like to get tickets as they come to me, so we'll see. And the last question is, in closing, tell your viewers about 2 new to you YouTube channels you discovered in 2024, or just shout out 2 channels you enjoy. The ones I chose to shout out are Altars of Madness, because one, the pun name is great. Love that. And also, for whatever reason, I believe he's Scottish, so his accent is so good. Just the way he says like year for year. 10 out of 10. I had to like show a friend. I'd be like, listen to this man say the word year. But yeah, no, he's really cool. I don't even think I'm subscribed yet. I should probably subscribe. He talks to stuff that I'm not really a big fan of, but I feel like that's most of the VCLT. So I just watch you guys and I subscribe, even though I know nothing about what you're talking about, but I like learning about it. And the other thing is the Metal Meltdown. I discovered the Metal Meltdown in 2021, I think, but I have not really come back to him all that much. I like the way that he plays around with sense of humor and his delivery, and he does a lot more structured reviews, stuff that I wish I could do, but I just am not that put together, as evidenced by this video. So yeah, those are my two. Happy 2025, you guys. That's the heavy metal tag. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye bye.